Hello everyone, I'm Graham.
I'm Ashley.
And we are traveling teachers. We live in Kunming, China, and we're here today to talk to you about the cost of living in this city. Let's start out with the housing. So we live in about 150 square meter apartment, which costs about 3,000 renminbi, and it's outside of the city. We don't pay for water, or we haven't yet, but we do pay for electricity, and it's not a very expensive fee. It's about 100 to 200 renminbi per month on a regular month, except for January, which was quite cold. That was our most expensive month. We paid 500 RMB for that one.
One of our favorite stores at the mall nearby our house is H&M, and the other one that we frequent is called Uniqlo. Those tend to be the only stores that we really go shopping at, and I usually buy clothes for Amelie there. Sometimes I'll buy clothes for myself. Tends to be a little pricier than what we can find on Taobao. Clothes there generally run around 150 kuai, maybe 200 kuai. Sets for Amelie, maybe around 70 or 100 kuai.
Our phone company is China Mobile, and Ashley and I pay 200 kuai every month. It's actually tied to our home internet service as well.
There's also a really good amount of restaurants and stalls and snacks and bars. Lots of really good things available here in China. If you go to the food court at the mall, you can get something like noodles or a rice dish for around 15 kuai, which is really cheap. Or you can go to some nicer restaurants, which will run you a bit more, maybe around 200 for a fancier restaurant. We haven't been to too many fancy places though, so don't quote me on that. We do have a kid.
Being a new father, I don't frequent bars too often. However, I have been known to enjoy a drink once in a while. So the cost of a beer at a local brew pub would run you about 30 to 40 kuai per beer. We on occasion go out to restaurants as well. We really enjoy a restaurant downtown called Lost Garden, and that restaurant can run you maybe about 150 kuai to 200, and there are plenty of Western options on the menu. We also really enjoy a place called El Salvador's, and it once again is a similar price to Lost Garden. There's a lot more cheaper options, of course, for the local Chinese food, if you so desire. There's a Japanese restaurant that we usually will go to and in the mall, and it costs roughly around the same price as Lost Garden, about 150 to 200 kuai, which is not a bad price considering all the food that you get. Something like that back home, especially for Japanese food, could easily cost double, if not 2.5 times the price that it is here.
Baby products, obviously we buy a lot of those. Diapers run us about 150 kuai. I do buy most of Amelie's clothes on Taobao. One of my favorite brands is Carter's, which is also available in the US. A clothes set, which involves pants, jacket, and a onesie, is usually about 100 kuai, but I have found clothes for as cheap as 30 kuai, just depends. Diapers are usually around 150 kuai. We buy Pampers. I also buy I think it's a Chinese brand. It's called Lelch. We use those at night. Those are more expensive for whatever reason. I don't know why, but they're great for nighttime. Those are about 270 kuai a pack. A lot of her food is imported. For purees, we like the brand called Little Freddy. Those tend to be around 25 kuai, 30 kuai for a pack, which is pretty expensive. We don't use that too often. The formula that she uses is called Enfamil. It's usually about 320 a tin. Amelie is both breastfed and formula fed, so we don't have to buy too many tins of formula. A lot of the other things that we buy for her, like big purchases like our high chair and strollers, we tend to buy those on Taobao. We don't go to hospitals too often, but we did do a video earlier this year on the cost of what it was to have Amelie delivered here in China. We do go to the hospitals, usually for Amelie's checkup. I don't think I've been to a hospital in Kunming for myself yet, or for Graham. But Amelie, I think for the first time, her appointment cost about 200 kwai. Then for the subsequent times, it was 100 kwai. We do have insurance. I'm not 100% sure how to use that yet, but we are saving our receipts and hopefully we can get reimbursed for that. For vaccinations, if we got Chinese vaccinations, those are generally free. A lot of the vaccinations that we get for Amelie tend to be imported if those are an option, and those can run anywhere from 700 kwai, and I've heard the MMR or other vaccines can be even more expensive. So there's a running trend here. You can buy local Chinese products and get things very cheaply. Or if you want, you can get more expensive imported products. We tend to buy more imported products, not because they're necessarily better. It's just what we know, what we're comfortable with, what we understand. I like reading the packaging on the vaccine vials, so I understand what's going on. That's not a knock on Chinese products. I like what I like, and I'm willing to pay money for that. So there's that.
On occasion, we will order delivery food, and it's quite easy. You just go on to the Waimai app or WeChat and order, and it comes within 30 minutes, maybe an hour at the most. And the cost of the food, it all depends on the restaurant that you buy from. So it's a similar price to buying it out at the restaurant. However, there is a delivery charge of 6 kwai.
One of my favorite things about China is Taobao. Taobao, you can find almost anything. You can take a picture and do a search for it. Sometimes you can do English searches for brand names. Taobao is my favorite thing about China. It's a little bit like Amazon. Most people know of AliExpress or Wish, which is just like a chunk or a portion of Taobao, but you can find other things there too. I did mention that earlier, but most of Amelie's clothes I buy there, most of my own clothes. Like I can buy American brands, like a lot of things that are available at JCPenney's or Kohl's or Nordstrom's, which are probably shops that I would go to back home. But jeans run me about 70 kwai, dresses about 50 kwai to 100 kwai. So I have a ridiculous amount of clothing, probably way more than I would have in the US. It is fast fashion. Generally, there can be some minor mistakes on the clothes, which is why they weren't sent for Western markets or other countries. But a lot of the flaws are so small that you can't even notice, so I don't mind it. I'm okay with paying a little bit cheaper price for small flaws. We buy things from Costco. There's a Costco now in Shanghai, which I am quite happy about. So we'll buy a lot of products from there. Our big purchases are usually on Taobao because we can usually find the best deals on there. And a lot of stores are probably annoyed because a lot of the time if you want something, you can just take a picture, look it up on Taobao and see if you can find it cheaper on Taobao. Surprisingly, a lot of stores are not too fussed with us filming inside. So I don't get it, but all right, thanks China.
For transportation, there are several ways to get around town. We really enjoy taking a Didi. There are many different types of Didis that you can take, from an express to premier or taxi. You can even get like a 6-seater van if you like. So the cost depends upon what type of car that you get, as well as how far you go. In order to get to the city, it costs maybe about 100 kwai for a premier Didi. And you can think of premiers as the Uber Black of China. We tend to take the premiers more often, especially when we go places with Amelie, because the drivers are usually more certified, I believe, and also they help with the car seat to put in the back. They're usually quite helpful with that. We are about 20, maybe 25 kilometers from the city center. And to get a subway from where we are to downtown, it costs 5 kwai. Taking the bus costs 2 kwai. So it's all pretty cheap overall. However, the subway is quite convenient, whereas the bus we found is not as convenient, especially when we are taking our daughter around. One thing that we've been doing quite frequently, especially recently, has been going to parks. And parks, for the most part, are free, which is a great price, especially for a young family such as ours. However, there are some parks that you can go to, such as the Gudian Wetland Park, which does cost a little bit of money, not too much though. And the amusement park that we went to cost 200 kwai. And the food there was, honestly, it was quite expensive for what it was. I think I remember we paid 200 kwai as well for the food, and it was quite greasy and not so good.
So the next thing that we're going to be talking about is grocery shopping. So we go to 2 different grocery stores. The first kind of store that we go to is called Metro, which I believe is a German chain in China. They have a good meat selection, and I tend to prefer to go to Metro to buy our meat products because in a lot of the local stores they have the meat sitting out, and I prefer the meat to be prepackaged ahead of time. We also go to get a lot of Amelie's baby products, as well as other imported food and drinks and snacks. I know Graham likes to buy his beer there. They tend to have a better selection than at our local store. But a trip to Metro is fairly expensive. It comes to about 1,000 kwai each time we go, although we only go about once or twice a month, and we tend to stock up quite a bit on all the things that we need. The other grocery store that we go to is right across the street, and we buy little odds and ends here and there, but my favorite thing about this grocery store is the produce. The produce in Yunnan is amazing, and everything is just so cheap. I know one of my favorite things is the prepackaged fruit. So they cut it up fresh in the store and it's all ready to go, and then they package it up. So you can get 3 or 4 different kinds of fruit ready to eat, and it costs 15 kwai, which is about $2. So I absolutely love this. We can also get organic vegetables. They don't really have organic fruit in the grocery stores, at least not that I've seen, but organic vegetables is more of an option there, and that also runs us at about 15 kwai. Grocery trips that we go to our local store are much cheaper, but we also just typically buy produce, milk, and eggs here. All right, so I think that's it for our video today. Hopefully this help to inform you about the cost of living, the cost of things. I know not all of you are going to be living in China, but if you ever come here someday, then you can understand how expensive things are. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.